Hello, today we're going to learn how to use the reporting speech in English. The reported speech is used to tell what someone said or expressed without quoting the words, so it's not written between quotation marks, okay? Because you say it in an indirect way. If we express what someone said in the present or we tell a general truth, there are no changes in the verb and the reporting verb is in the present. However, the most common way of expressing what someone said is in the past. So the reporting verb needs to be in the past and the verb in the subordinate clause and the time expressions change. It's as if they moved a step backwards into the past. So the direct speech would be, she said, I bought a new car, between the quotation marks, because it's the exact words she said, and the reported speech would be, she said, and the reporting verb is in the past, that she had bought, which changed, a new car. These are the changes in the verb when the reporting verb is used in the past. So present simple would change to past simple, present continuous to past continuous, past simple to past perfect, and so on. Okay, you need to know by heart to remember these changes in order to do them when you turn a sentence into the reported speech. Not only the verb changes, but also some words or expressions that mostly refer to place or time. For example, now turns to then, today to that day, tonight to that night, yesterday to the previous day or the day before, and also some place expressions like here turns into that, this into that, and these into those. When we report a statement, the reporting verbs are usually say and tell. Okay, those are the most frequent reporting verbs. If we use the verb say, there is no indirect object after it, or it needs to be introduced by the preposition to. She said to me, or we could only say she said that. Tell is always followed by an indirect object, but without preposition. She told me that. We cannot say she told to me. That would be incorrect. To say in the present tense what someone just said or to talk about a general truth, there are no changes in the verb, as we said before. For example, I'm a very responsible person. She says that she is a very responsible person, okay? But we need to take into account that personal pronouns also change. Usually the reporting verb is in the past tense and there must be some changes in the tenses of the main verb and the expressions in the subordinate clause. For example, we decided to give them a reward. They said in the past that they had decided, because the past simple changes into past perfect, to give them a reward. Or if we use the verb tell, they told us, with the indirect object, that they had decided to give them a reward. Entonces la estructura pues sería esta. El sujeto, el reporting verb, que serían say o tell. Say, que no suele ir con objeto indirecto, pero si fuera tendría que llevar la preposición to, y tell, que sí que va con objeto indirecto y va sin preposición, ¿vale? Después la subordinada, que es lo que alguien ha dicho, iría introducido por la conjunción that y ya está. Esta sería la estructura de los statements. To report a question that someone asked, the most frequent reporting verb is ask, okay? There are two types of questions in English, and there are two ways of doing the reported speech depending on the kind of question. So if it's a yes-no question, which can be answered with yes or no, the subordinate clause is introduced by if or whether and then followed by the subordinate clause. You have to pay attention because there's no inversion, subject, verb, or question mark, because that's no longer a question, okay? For example, will you go to the tennis tournament? Jack asked. Jack asked if or whether I would go to the tennis tournament. The WH questions, which can't be answered with yes or no, are introduced by the question mark, the question word, followed by the subordinate clause, and there is also no inversion. For example, when did you turn off the television? She asked. She asked when I had turned off the television. Bien, pues aquí tendríamos la estructura de los dos tipos de preguntas. Yes, no questions, que sería sujeto más el reporting verb, que normalmente es ask. Y luego la subordinada introducida por if o whether. Y aquí, cuidado, porque el orden sería sujeto-verbo, aunque viene de ser una pregunta, y aquí tendríamos auxiliar sujeto-verbo, ¿vale? Aquí ya no se invierte el orden. Y también se quita el signo de interrogación. Y luego tendríamos también las WH, que son las que van introducidas por what, when, where, why. Y no se pueden responder con sí o no. Y la estructura sería sujeto, el reporting verb, que también normalmente es ask, la question word, es decir, el what, el when, el where, el why o lo que sea, y luego la subordinate clause. Y otra vez tendríamos sujeto, verbo y complemento, ¿vale? No se invierte el orden, ya deja de ser una pregunta. To report an order or a request, order and tell are the most frequent reporting verbs. But we can also express a request using ask or beg, and we can also express a warning using the verb warn. So it depends on the reporting verb that we use. And orders and requests are introduced by a reporting verb, order, tell, ask, beg, and they can be followed by an indirect object and then followed by the infinitive form. For example, pay attention, the teacher said, the teacher told the students, that would be the indirect object, to pay attention, and the infinitive of the verb. When we ask for something, we usually use please, but when we turn the sentence into reported speech, we usually omit that please. For example, can you please pay attention? The teacher said. The teacher begged me to pay attention. You don't have to write please. Or, for example, can you please bring your book? He said. He asked me to bring my book. And in negative sentences, we use not before the infinitive. So it would be, don't cheat in the exam, he said. He warned us not to cheat in the exam. Bien, pues para expresar órdenes o peticiones, la estructura sería el sujeto, que es la persona que dice lo que ha dicho alguien, el reporting verb, que en función del que utilicemos, pues podemos darle una intención u otra. Después el objeto indirecto en el caso de que hubiera, y después el verbo en infinitivo, ¿vale? El to más el verbo. Y si fuera negativo, pues not to más el verbo. In reporting suggestions, the most frequent reporting verbs are suggest, recommend, invite, and advise, okay? Suggestions introduced by invite or advise are followed by an indirect object in the case we have it, and then the infinitive form. So, as you can see in the example, you should come to see the parade. They said they invited us to see the parade. So it's the verb invite, indirect object, and infinitive. In suggestions introduced by suggest or recommend, we need to take into account that they can be followed by that and the subordinate clause. For example, you should go to the doctor, she said. She suggested that I should go to the doctor. Or by a gerund without the subject. For example, why don't we go to the cinema? She said. She suggested going to the cinema. There is no subject here. Vale, pues aquí entonces lo que tenemos que tener en cuenta son para empezar, los reporting verbs. Si tuviéramos invite o advise, la forma de hacerlo sería el sujeto más el reporting verb, que sería invite o advise, más el objeto indirecto si lo hubiera, más el infinitivo, ¿vale? Si fuera negativo, pues el not más el infinitivo. En el caso de que sea suggest o recommend, entonces tenemos dos opciones. Que sea el sujeto más el reporting verb, que sería suggest o recommend, más that, más la subordinada, sujeto, verbo y complemento. Y la otra opción sería el sujeto más el reporting verb, que seguiría siendo suggest o recommend, y después un gerundio. Y ya no tendríamos el sujeto, ya iría el gerundio y lo que viniera después de la oración. Depending on what reporting verb we use to introduce the reported speech, it can express the different intentions of the speaker. So here you've got some examples of verbs that you can use. For example, in statements, you can say agree, que estar de acuerdo, answer, respondió, apologize, se disculpó, complain, se quejó. Okay, so it depends on the type of verb that you use. Questions, you can use inquire, request, want to know, wonder. In orders, demand, warn, shout. In requests, you can use ask, beg. And suggestions, advise, invite, recommend, suggest. Bien, pues como hemos dicho antes, los reporting verbs, que son los que introducen la oración de estilo indirecto, ¿vale? Del reported speech, pues cada tipo de oración que hemos estado viendo tiene los suyos típicos, los más comunes, ¿vale? Pero según el verbo que utilicemos, pues podemos darle una intención u otra, como he dicho. Pues si imagínate que tenemos la oración y en vez de poner say, dice apologize, pues ya sabes que se está disculpando por algo, ¿vale? O en vez de tell, utilizas complain, pues ya sabes que se refiere a una queja. O en vez de ask, por ejemplo, en questions, dice want to know o wanted to know, pues sabes que estás cambiando un poco por no repetir siempre lo mismo. Pues muy bien, hasta aquí el estilo indirecto. Ya cualquier duda o cualquier cosa, pues me comentáis ahora, ¿vale? See you.